Buy Sri Lanka's best internet package for online learning and online working with many amazing offers. Call 1212 for more information. Sri Lanka Telecom.
ලෙන්ගතුකම වැඩි කරගන්න ලව්ජු රුපියල් 50ට අඩු කළා.
මාමේ එන්න අපිට එකක් බොමු.
Tonight, proof of longevity. Former President Mahinda Rajapaksa takes oath as Sri Lanka's Prime Minister for the 4th time. Forced change. Some government members would have to be seated in Parliament's opposition. Through the back door. Should candidates rejected by the people get a seat in Parliament via the national list?
Ethically, they can't appoint people from the losing candidate.
Unfortunately, political parties act against the true spirit of the purpose of national list.
Big plans. Cargo operations commence at the Mattala Rajapaksa International Airport.
We are looking ahead of giving many waivers and discounts to all the airlines who are patronizing Sri Lanka currently.
All that and much more coming up on First at 9, this Sunday the 9th of August 2020.
Nava sunlight sakura, then Dikukal pavathina sakura mal suandin.
From AdaDerana, this is AdaDerana First at 9. Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
Good evening and welcome to First at 9. I'm Dhamke Kanai. Now, Mahinda Rajapaksa took oath as the Prime Minister of the newly elected 9th Parliament of the Democratic Socialist Republic of Sri Lanka today. He becomes the only politician to have been sworn in as Premier on 4 occasions and to have been the head of state on 2 occasions. The Prime Minister's chosen venue for the ceremony was the ancient Kalaniya Temple. PM Rajapaksa was instrumental in ridding Sri Lanka of the LTT terrorists during his first stint as the President. Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa arrived at the sacred Kalaniya Temple at 8:30 this morning for his swearing-in ceremony. Public representatives and foreign envoys were present, while a large public gathering was also seen at the sacred premises. Then President Gotabaya Rajapaksa arrived at the temple after a short while. Following the national anthem, the swearing-in ceremony of the new Prime Minister commenced at a stage arranged at the temple premises at an auspicious time, and it was worked off with the blessings of the Buddhist clergy.
මහින්ද රාජපක්ෂ වන මම ශ්‍රී ලංකා ප්‍රජාතන්ත්‍රවාදී සමාජවාදී ජනරජයේ අග්‍රාමාත්‍ය ධූරයේ කාර්ය සහ ආණ්ඩුක්‍රම ව්‍යවස්ථාව සහ නීතියට අනුකූලව අවංක යුතු කරන බවට ගෞරව බහුමානී යුක්තව ප්‍රකාශ කොට ප්‍රතිඥා දෙමි.
බාලේන සදා සත්‍ය භවන්තු දේවවතු සබ්බ මංගලං සබ්බ දේවතා සබ්බ සංඝානුභාවේන.
Afterwards, President Gotabaya Rajapaksa paid his respects to his elder brother, who took oath as Sri Lanka's new Prime Minister. Subsequently, both the President and the Prime Minister engaged in religious observances, led by Chief Incumbent of the Kalaniya Temple, Most Venerable Professor Kollupitiya Mahinda Sangarakkhitha Thera. The head of state and the Premier then paid tribute to the public who had converged near the entrance of the temple.
තනාමතු මග පුදාරැකදුන් මව්බිමේ මතු තිරදිනක් මව්බිමේ මතු තිරදිනක් ශ්‍රී වෙලා මත නොව මහා ජනහද සදාලිය වෙන සටහනක් මහා වංශය.
After concluding the swearing-in ceremony in Kalaniya, Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa then arrived at the Gangarama Temple in Colombo.
තුන්වෙනි යුද්ධය ආරම්භ කළා කරගෙන යනවා. පළවෙනි යුද්ධය ජයග්‍රහණය කළා රට බේරා ගන්න. දෙවෙනි යුද්ධය කොරෝනා වෛරසය ඒකත් බොහෝ දුරට සමතයකට පත් කරගෙන තියෙන මොහොතක ආර්ථික යුද්ධය සෞභාග්‍යයේ දැක්ම තුලින් ඉස්සරහට ගිහිල්ලා ඒක ජයග්‍රහණය කරා. ඉතින් ඒකත් ජයග්‍රහණය කරන්න ශ්‍රී ලාංකික හැමෝම ඔබතුමත් එක්ක හිටගනී කියන විශ්වාසය අපිට තියෙනවා. බුදුරජාණන් වහන්සේ දේශනා කරන්නේ විනය තමයි ශාසනයේ ආයුෂ. විනය යම් දවසක පිරිහෙනවද එදාට සම්බුද්ධ ශාසනය විනාශ වෙනවා. ඉතින් අපේ රටේ අපි හිතනවා විනය සකස් කරලා විනයගරුක රටක් හැටියට ඉස්සරහට යන්නත් අපිට මේක තමයි අවස්ථාව.
The Prime Minister then called on the chief incumbent of the Vidya Lankara Pirivena in Paliyagoda, Chancellor of the Kalaniya University, Most Venerable Dr. Valamitiyave Kusaladhamma Thera. The Premier then called on Chancellor of the University of Sabaragamuwa, Agamaha Pandita, Most Venerable Professor Kamburugamuwa Vajira Thera. Prime Minister Rajapaksa also engaged in religious observances at the Sri Abhayarama Temple in Narahempita. In the meantime, several celebrations were also worked off in different areas of the island following the swearing-in of Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa. Now, this is a look back on the political career of Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa. Born on the 18th of November in 1945, Mahinda Rajapaksa was elected to the parliament in 1970 as the youngest parliamentarian. He contested the polls from Beliatta, which was an electoral district back then. He served as the Cabinet Minister of Labour, Fisheries and Aquatic Resources between the years of 1994 and 2001. Rajapaksa was then appointed leader of the opposition in 2002, and in 2004 he became the Prime Minister of Sri Lanka for the first time. In 2005, however, Rajapaksa contested the presidential election against the leader of the United National Party, Ranil Wickremesinghe. It saw him being elected as the 5th executive president of Sri Lanka. After his ascendancy to the country's top office, Mahinda Rajapaksa and his government took steps to hold several rounds of peace talks with the LTTE terrorists during the ceasefire at a time when the LTT was carrying out massacres in many parts of the country under the pretext of the ceasefire. The LTT, however, disregarded the government's efforts to maintain peace and prompted then-President Mahinda Rajapaksa to declare war after the terror group blocked the Mavilaru sluice gate. As a result, Sri Lanka launched the world's largest humanitarian operation to rescue thousands of Sri Lankans from the grip of the LTTE while dealing with international pressure and intervention brought on by the war amidst a massive global economic crisis. On the 18th of May 2009, under the leadership of President Mahinda Rajapaksa, ended the 3-decade-long war with the eradication of the world's most fierce terrorist organization. Following the LTT's defeat, in 2010, Mahinda Rajapaksa was once again elected as president, and during his tenure he paved the way for many large-scale construction projects such as the Mattala Rajapaksa Hambantota Airport, the Hambantota Harbour, the Southern Expressway, the Ranminithanne Telecinema Village, the Utturu Asante Development Project, the Nelumpokana Mahinda Rajapaksa Theatre and the Colombo Lotus Tower, while taking the country's economic growth to 7%. However, despite losing the 2015 presidential election, Mahinda Rajapaksa contested the polls from the Kurunegala district and entered the parliament. He later led the formation of the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna and was sworn in as Prime Minister for the second time on the 26th of October in 2018. His third stint as Prime Minister came after Gotabaya Rajapaksa became the President in November last year. Mahinda Rajapaksa was elected to Parliament after polling the highest number of preferential votes in the country's history with 527,364 in the general election, worked off on the 5th of August this year. In the process, he paved the way for the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna to obtain a crucial two-thirds majority. Today, Mahinda Rajapaksa was sworn in as the Prime Minister, becoming the only politician to be the Executive President twice and to be Prime Minister 4 times. Derana congratulates the new Prime Minister, Mahinda Rajapaksa. We will see you shortly after this break. Stay tuned.
Enjoy a very smooth shave with the Bic Easy 2 razor. Bic Easy 2.
Welcome back. You're watching First at 9. Now, the ministers of the newly elected government is slated to take oath on Wednesday, the 12th, at the Royal Court of the Temple of the Sacred Tooth Relic in Kandy. Going by information trickled down by sources, the new cabinet is limited to just 26. Although most of the post-polls formalities seem to be on track, there are some unusual manifestations which has left the public guessing. A Gazette notification was issued last night by the Election Commission containing the names of 196 candidates who were elected to the 9th Parliament of the Democratic Socialist Republic of Sri Lanka by public vote. What's special about this otherwise standard practice is the fact that the name of Premalal Jayasekara, who was given the death sentence by the Ratnapura High Court, is also included in the Gazette. Premalal Jayasekara polled second in preferential votes in the Ratnapura district. Meanwhile, the Gazette pertaining to the nationalist parliamentarians is also due in the coming days. The Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna submitted its nominees for the national list last week, while General Secretary of the Samagi Jana Balawega says that the party's national list will be submitted soon. In the meantime, the United National Party, which failed to secure a single seat in Parliament during the polls, is also eligible for a national list seat, and it is reported that the party will hold talks on the matter tomorrow. Ilangai Tamil Arasu Katchi is also eligible for a single national list seat in Parliament, and the party has nominated Thavarasa Kalayarasan, who lost in the general election. Kalayarasan is a former member of the Eastern Provincial Council. Meanwhile, there was an issue pertaining to the nationalist position of the Our Power of People party. The party's General Secretary, Venerable Asgiriya Vimalavansathera, had sent a letter to the Election Commission informing it that he is the nominee for the nationalist parliamentary position. Later, however, several OPPP representatives, including its chairman, went to the Election Commission and informed that the letter sent by its General Secretary is invalid. In such a situation, the party working committee convened last afternoon and decided to nominate Venerable Galagodatte Gnanasarathera for the position.
මම මගේ පක්ෂයේ తాවකාලික මහලේකම්වරයෙක් අපි පත් කරලා තිබුණා. ඒ වෙන කවුරුත් නෙමෙයි වේදිනිකම විමලතිස්ස ස්වාමින් වහන්සේ. මම උන්වහන්සේට දුරකථනයෙන් කතා කළා අපේ ආම්දුරෝනේ අපට එක් ජාතික ලයිස්තු මන්ත්‍රී ධූරය ලැබිලා තියෙනවා. අපි හැකි ඉක්මනින් මධ්‍යම කාරක සභාව කැඳවලා ජාතික ලයිස්තු මන්ත්‍රී ධූරය ගලගොඩාත්තේ ඥානසාර ස්වාමින් වහන්සේට ලබා දීමට කටයුතු කරන්න ඕනේ. මං කිව්වා ඉතාම ඉක්මනින් මධ්‍යම කාරක සභාව රැස් කරන්න කියලා. මට හා කියලා මධ්‍යම කාරක සභාව රැස් කරේ නැහැ. මම දුරකථනයෙන් කතා කරත් හරි එනවා විනාඩි 5න් එනවා 10න් එනවා කියලා නොයෙකුත් දේවල් කියලා අන්තිමට මට තේරුණා උන්වහන්සේ මග හරින බවක්. ඉන්පසු මම කරේ පක්ෂ ව්‍යවස්ථාවේ බලතල අනුව හිටපු මහලේකම් නිශාන්ත රත්නායක මහතා මේ වේදිනිකම විමලතිස්ස ස්වාමීන් වහන්සේට ප්‍රථම හිටපු කෙනා මම මෙතුමාව පත් කරා 7 වෙනිදා. ඒ අනුව මෙතුමා මෙදියත් වෙලා නැවතත් මධ්‍යම කාරක සභාව රැස් කරලා අපි ඒකමතිකව තීන්දුවක් ගත්තා. ගලබඩාත්තේ ඥානසාර ස්වාමීන් වහන්සේ කෙසේ හෝ පාර්ලිමේන්තුවට යවිය යුතුයි කියන තීන්දුව ගත්තා.
In the meantime, members of the Sri Lanka Freedom Party who were elected to Parliament had a discussion at the party headquarters today, chaired by its leader, former President Maithripala Sirisena. In another development, the Sergeant-at-Arms of the Parliament says that some members of the government will have to be seated in the opposition when the Parliament is convened.
සෞඛ්‍ය අධ්‍යක්ෂ ජනරාල්වරයාගේ නිර්දේශ එවලා තියෙනවා පාර්ලිමේන්තුවේ මහලේකම්තුමාට. විශේෂ දේ තමයි මුව ආවරණය සෑම විටම පැලඳගෙන ඉන්න ඕනේ. දැන් තවත් විශේෂ කාරණාවක් මෙතනදී කියලා තියෙනවා. මොකද අපේ පාර්ලිමේන්තුවේ ආසන දෙකක් අතරේ මීටරයක්ම නැහැ. පාර්ලිමේන්තු මන්ත්‍රීවරයෙක් පාර්ලිමේන්තුව අමතනකොට මුව ආවරණය පැලඳගෙනම තමයි ඒ ඇමතීම කරන්න ඕනේ. මුව ආවරණය ගලවන්න බෑ. ආණ්ඩුවට 145ක් ලැබිලා තියෙනවා රජයට. ඊට අමතරව තව සහය දෙන පක්ෂත් කීපයක් ඉන්නවා. ඒ කියන්නේ 150කට අධික ප්‍රමාණයක් ඉන්නවා. ඒතකොට අපිට පාර්ලිමේන්තුවේ එක පැත්තක අසුන් ගන්නන්න පුළුවන් 116යි. ඒතකොට ඉතුරු ප්‍රමාණය අපිට සිද්ධ වෙනවා විපක්ෂයේ සුදුසු තැනක එක කණ්ඩායමක් වශයෙන් ඒ ජේෂ්ඨතාවය මත අසුන් ගන්නවන.
The general election may be over, but not all is finalised. There is still the matter of the national list. In the past and at present, to some extent, we have seen political parties nominating their members who were defeated during polls for a parliamentary seat via the national list. But the question is it ethical to give a parliamentary seat to a person who is rejected by the people? First at 9 spoke to election monitoring bodies, People's Action for Free and Fair Elections and the Centre for Monitoring Election Violence to get clarity over the matter. With the general election coming to an end, political parties are now tasked with nominating candidates for the national list. However, Ilange Thamilarasu Katchi has already nominated a defeated candidate to the parliament via its national list, while the United National Party, the Samagi Jana Balawege and few others are yet to submit their national lists. There is a question that raises amongst all this. Is it ethical to send a representative rejected by the people to the most prestigious institution in any country, the parliament? If it is done, wouldn't that be an action against the public will? Or is it even legal?
According to the law, they have right to select nationalist MPs from the losing candidate and also the list they have given to the election commissioner. But the purpose of the national list is bringing the expert group into the parliament. Ethically, they can't appoint people from the losing candidate. Losing in a sense, the people has rejected them as a parliamentarian.
There should be a proper mechanism to nominate members to the national list. It is the constitutional right of political parties and independent groups to nominate their representatives into the national list. Unfortunately, all the political parties acted against the true spirit of the purpose of national list. The purpose of introducing the national list was to enable professionals, academics and experts in various fields to enter parliaments without being disadvantaged by their lack of constituencies or networks. However, political party secretaries and leaders are thinking that this is something voters given to them, misuse as the wish, and inactive Sri Lankan citizens also not questioning such behavior of political parties. In practice, most parties simply elect the candidates that were rejected after contesting at district level. Since Sri Lanka nomination for the national list are put forward in what is called an open list, which allows parties or groups to change the names put forward even after the election. It facilitates the backdoor entrance of those who fail to be elected to parliament.
In the future, there should be some legal framework to prevent losing candidates coming to parliament through the national list. There can be a very small percentage, maybe 10% or maybe just 1%, in case if their important person lost the parliament elections, but that also up to certain discussions we can decide in the future. But there should be some legal framework preventing those people coming to the parliament once they defeat their election. We know that the ruling party, they have already given their nationalist MPs. They have not selected anybody from the losing group. And also we appeal all the other parties, those who get nationalist MPs, they should not select from the losing candidate.
Now, leader of the Samagi Jana Balawege, Sajith Premadasa, pledges to make the service of the opposition leader a mobile service for the people. Addressing an event today, Premadasa also promised to prove the prowess of the opposition by deed and not through word.
Leader of the Samagi Jana Balawege, Sajith Premadasa, was in the area of Colombo Central to pay his gratitude to the people who supported him during the general election. After calling at several temples, Premadasa attended a welcoming event organised at the Sucharita Hall in Kesilvatha.
අපි විපක්ෂයේ කාර්යභාරය ශක්තිමත්ව ක්‍රියාත්මක කරමින් මේ රටේ සද් ජාතිකත්ව ප්‍රතිපත්ති තුල බෞද්ධ පිරිසිදු නිර්මල නිර්ව්‍යාජ ප්‍රතිපත්තිය හරහා ජාතිවාදයේ ජාතිවේදය, ආගම්වාදයේ ආගම්වේදය, අන්තවාදයේ ත්‍රස්තවාදය සහ මුලින්ම පුටා දමන්නට අපි විපක්ෂයක් හැටියට කටයුතු කරනවා. ඒ වගේම විපක්ෂ නායක සේවාව නිරතුරුවම ජංගම සේවාවක් බවට, ජනතාවගේ ජංගම සේවාවක් බවට අපි පත් කරනවා. විපක්ෂයේ ඉන්නකොට අපි වැඩ පෙන්වන්නට යන්නේ කතාවෙන් විතරක් නෙවෙයි, අපි ක්‍රියාවෙනුත් මේ ශක්තිමත් ගමනක් අපි ක්‍රියාත්මක කරනවා.
We will see you shortly. Bear with us.
Ceylon Bank, the bank with a heart.
Welcome back. This is First at 9. Now, the Mattala Rajapaksa International Airport, which was inactive for 5 years, commenced its cargo operations today. Furthermore, Emirates Airlines also started a fully fledged operation at the airport for the first time. Director of Airport and Aviation Services Shehan Sumanasekara says that waivers and discounts for all airlines will be provided once the airport reopens. The Mattala Rajapaksa International Airport was declared open on the 18th of March in 2013 as the second international airport in Sri Lanka. However, a decision was made by the Government of Good Governance to store paddy in the cargo container complex of the airport, despite the move drawing objections from various quarters. The Mattala International Airport, which was inactive for 5 years, contributed heavily during the repatriation process that was worked off owing to the COVID-19 pandemic. The airport was able to provide its service to at least 2,500 passengers by operating more than 70 air trips in the months of June and July this year. Marking a new milestone, operations related to transporting cargo to the United States of America and European countries commenced today at the Mattala Rajapaksa International Airport. Accordingly, 28 tons of ready-made garments and other items related to the garment industry were exported via a Boeing 777 flight belonging to the Emirates Airlines.
Today is a very special day for Mattala Rajapaksa International Airport. We have, as you can see, repatriated 401 passengers through Emirates Airlines today. And what's even more important is, through the same airline, we are sending 28 tons of Sri Lankan produced manufactured garments to America. So this becomes one of the most important days at Mattala, simply because this is the first time that Emirates Airlines is having a fully fledged operation at Mattala Rajapaksa Airport. Airport and Aviation, together with our chairman, we have developed a short-term and a medium-term plan for Mattala International Airport. And in the interim, we plan to have dialogues with Sri Lanka Tourism and invite all the passengers to use Mattala Rajapaksa International Airport, simply because we are looking ahead of giving many waivers and discounts to all the airlines who are patronizing Sri Lanka currently. In this process, we also look to give waivers in the segments of ground handling, parking and landing charges, and certain other government taxes. We are already planning to offer them soon after the airport opening happens. This Mattala is situated in a very beautiful area where we have vast land, vast majority of possible potential infrastructure to be developed in the country. And the government's new initiative with the Hambantota Development Program, we see a lot of new industries coming in and around Mattala and Mattala Airport and the port of Hambantota, and this will be a catalyst for us to develop this airport very fast.
Moving on with other local stories, all schools will reopen tomorrow after a lengthy hiatus owing to the COVID-19 pandemic and the general election 2020. Certain grades, however, will attend schools under phases, while some will attend across all 5 days of the week. In any case, all of it will be done in line with health and safety guidelines put in place by the authorities. All government schools and government-approved private schools will reopen tomorrow under the health and safety guidelines that have been issued by health authorities. However, except for students of grades 5, 10, 11, 12 and 13 who will attend school on all 5 days of the week, all other grades will reopen under phases. Students at schools that have a total number below 200 can attend school on all 5 days, while schools with students over 200 will resume for certain grades on certain days. Accordingly, all primary schools and primary sections of all secondary schools with more than 200 students will reopen for grades 1 on Monday, grade 2 on Tuesday, grade 3 on Wednesday, grade 4 on Thursday and Friday, while grade 5 will attend school on all 5 days of the week. Secondary schools with more than 200 students will resume for students of grade 6 on Monday, grade 7 on Tuesday, grade 8 on Wednesday, grade 9 on Thursday and Friday, while school will resume for grades 10, 11, 12 and 13 on all 5 days of the week. For grades 6 to 9, school hours will begin from 7:30 a.m. and go on until 1:30 p.m, while the school hours for grades 10 to 13 will be from 7:30 a.m. to 3:30 p.m.
අපි දෙමාපියන්ගෙන් ඉල්ලා හිටිනවා හෙට දින සියලුම දරුවන් පාසල් වලට යොමු කරන්න. අපි ක්‍රමවේදයක් මීට කලින් ලබා දී තිබුණා. ඒ ක්‍රමවේදය අනුව පාසල ආරම්භ කිරීමට නියමිතව තිබෙනවා. ඒ වගේම අපි විදුහල්පතිතුමාලාට සහ පළාත් බලධාරීන්ට දැනුම් දී තිබෙනවා යම්කිසි පාසලක් ශිෂ්‍ය සංඛ්‍යාව 200ට වැඩි වුණත් ඔවුන්ට ගුරු සංඛ්‍යාවක් සිටිනවා නම් පාසලේ ඉඩකඩ තිබෙනවා නම් මුළු පන්ති ප්‍රමාණය පටන් ගැනීමට හැකියාවක් තිබෙනවා නම් ඔවුන්ටත් අපි අවසර දීලා තිබෙනවා එම පාසල මුළු ශිෂ්‍යයන්ටම විවෘත කරන්න කියලා. 3:30 දක්වා කාලසටහන් හිමි සියලුම ගුරු බවතුන් එම දක්වා පාසල් රැඳී සිටීම අත්‍යවශ්‍ය වෙනවා. පාසල තුලදී මුඛාවරණ පැළඳවීම අනිවාර්ය වන්නේ නැහැ. නමුත් පැළඳගෙන සිටීම හොඳයි.
In the meantime, the country's overall active number of COVID-19 cases rose to 251 after 2 persons tested positive for the virus yesterday. The total number of COVID-19 recoveries, meanwhile, rose to 2,579 after 3 persons were discharged from hospitals today upon recovering from the virus. The police today busted a drug racket operated under the guise of selling jackfruit in Hormagama. 3 suspects were apprehended and it was revealed that the operation was orchestrated by yet another incarcerated inmate at the Valikata prison. In the meantime, 2 other criminals were also arrested in separate operations, with one of them yielding a ballistic vest commonly used by the armed forces. Vallawaya police was tipped off yesterday of a person on the police wanted list socialising in the area of Gangpangwa of Vallawaya. The suspect in question is wanted pertaining to various crimes and warrants had also been issued for him. When the police went to the location where the suspect had been socialising, he had launched a hand grenade at the police. The grenade, however, had not exploded and the suspect was subsequently arrested. The arrested 32-year-old suspect is identified by his alias Podidiula. Interrogations of the suspect had also led to the discovery of a locally made firearm and he is due to be produced before the Vallawaya Magistrates Court. In the meantime, another suspect was arrested during a raid in the area of Kurminiagoda in Kegol for the possession of a foreign-made micro-pistol and engaging in organised crime. The arrest was made by the Intelligence Division of the Police Special Task Force after they were tipped off of illegal possession of a firearm. The suspect is identified as 32-year-old Hangaligedra Upulshanta, alias Upul, a resident of Hettimulla of Ambavala. Interrogations of the suspect led to the discovery of a ballistic vest, commonly known as a bulletproof vest, from a private hotel in Kegol. The ballistic vest is manufactured overseas and is used by armed forces. The manager of the hotel from which the vest was found was also taken into custody for hiding the item at the hotel. In a separate development, a drug racket worked off under the guise of selling jackfruit was unravelled by the Hormagama police this morning. 3 suspects were arrested by the police with 107 grams of narcotics and 171,000 rupees in cash. Investigations have revealed that a woman among the arrested trio supplies the drugs for distribution upon directions of an incarcerated inmate at the Valikata prison. One of the other suspects, meanwhile, had sold the drugs under the guise of selling jackfruit, with payments obtained via EasyCash. The Colombo Bourse will open tomorrow, marking the beginning of another fresh week, and the expectation is that the strong showing of the government in the last week's polls to have a positive effect on the market. Sri Lankan shares closed flat last Friday and the all-share price index ended 0.01% lower at 5,176.48 after rising as much as 1.1% to a near 5-month high earlier. Now here's a brief report on the expectations at the market during the week ahead.
Looking at the upcoming week, with the low interest rate that is prevailing in the country and also the positivity that is generated through the strong majority government that we have received, is likely to weigh positively on the stock market. With the positive momentum from the political front, it gives policy stability and ability for investors to look at long-term investments, and stock market becomes a hot favorite in terms of long-term investments. investments. So with that, we are expecting to see fresh money to come again back into the market with the prevailing low rates, and also certainty about policy and the stability on the political front. So with that, we are likely to see more fresh money coming back into the market and higher demand from the market. We are likely to see a gradual uptrend in the market in the coming days with less selling pressure. So we feel that a new set of investors also may have interest in the market, and with that the positivity will again be generated in the market despite the short-term profit taking that we experienced during Friday.
And that's it from all of us here at First at 9. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.